Welcome ladies and gentlemen, my name's Dychronic here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Xur, his location, his random rolls, my recommendations, all for July 2nd, 2021. You can find him in his regular spot in the tower. Just go ahead and head over to the courtyard and then make your way into the top left section of the hangar. You can find him right here at the very edge of the railing. This is a high overview of everything he has in case this is all you wanted. First up for the weapon today, we have the Huckleberry. Now this is actually I would say, a very fun weapon to use. First of all, you increase the rate of fire and the recoil while you're holding down the trigger. Kills with this weapon reload a portion of the magazine. The catalyst further upgrades that to reload even more of the magazine, which also makes it really nice. And on top of that, you also get rampage. So you get faster fire rate, you get rampage, and you get ammo back in the magazine. So as you start to rip through enemies, never let go, and you keep going without having to reload. Which is obviously one of the biggest issues with SMGs, is that you're often reloading pretty often. I say often twice because it's so often. However, at the higher level content, you're not going to really be able to depend on getting kills, and definitely not at this kind of range. But it is a lot of fun, anything legend, maybe even master and below. Next up, we have the Knucklehead Radar, an exotic for the hunter that came out in Destiny 1, then came in the Destiny 2 base game, and is actually not a bad exotic. If you've never heard of it, it provides radar while aiming down sights and enhance your radar while crouched. Now this enhanced radar just means that it splits in smaller slivers so you can get a more accurate readout of where enemies are. And that radar while aiming down sights, while that doesn't seem like a lot, you have to keep in mind there are only two other things in this game that can do that, Ace of Spades and Mida Multi-Tool, and it really does help you in being able to get that first shot in a lot of engagements. So this is definitely one of your PvP exotics that are universal, that if you really don't have a lot of the other options, is okay. And then obviously for PvE, it really doesn't do anything. As far as the roll goes, you like to see a lot of mobility, a lot of recovery. I guess it's PvP, so resilience is okay. The total stats is not the most amazing, but also not the worst roll in the world. It's kind of meh. And it has an ornament. It makes it look pretty much the same. Moving on to the Titan exotic today, we have the Antaeus Ward, which is an exotic that really does need an ornament because it really doesn't look that good, but it's an exotic that used to be overpowered and is now more of a middling exotic, and something that I still would recommend if you like the idea. First of all, you have an improved slide, which means you slide at a faster pace at a farther distance, kind of like how Stompy's does, and sliding after sprinting for a short time reflects incoming projectiles. So you have to actually get that shoulder charge effect. You have to sprint for a short time before you can slide and reflect projectiles. On top of that, it no longer gives you super energy by reflecting, and obviously it can't be used just immediately and constantly. It used to be a literal 9.5 out of 10 for PvP, and now I think it's closer to like 6 or 7. It's a good exotic, can be used nicely, is universal, but there are better options. And in PvE, pretty much the entire use was getting that super energy, but now you can't. Because I mean, how often are you going to reflect something huge back at the enemy? Like what, a Cyclops shot? Not really much there. As far as the roll goes, it's actually probably the best roll we have on offer today. Total stats of 65 is pretty high. It has mobility, recovery, and intellect, which are all things you really do like. Obviously, it's PvP based, so you might want a little more resilience, but it does give that versatility. You can stack those columns exactly how you want them, so I'd say it's an excellent roll for a decent exotic. And finally, for the warlike exotic, we have the Chromatic Fire. Now, the Chromatic Fire is a lot of fun. However, I consider it a bit more of a gimmick and very much an exotic that you use in very specific builds. If you've never heard of it, when you have a light subclass equipped, the precision final blows with your kinetic weapon create an explosion in that element of your subclass. So basically, it's Dragonfly for kinetic weapons, of which I guess there are a lot now, but it used to just be Ace of Spades, and now we have Firefly and a bunch of different Vault of Glass weapons like Fatebringer. And keep in mind, you can actually get double explosions with this particular exotic. So if you like the idea of the explosions and you want to get more explosions and get more fire explosions, which by the way, Firefly is already solar, for the Warmind Cell thing, this exotic helps you do that, especially on weapons that can't do that, like Hawkmoon, I don't know where that came from, for example, is a really nice hand cannon, but it kind of feels average until you get to that last shot. This exotic can make that more interesting. As far as your roll goes, total stats of 62 is a slight bit low on this particular exotic. It's really up to you what you'd want. I personally like to have a lot of recovery and a lot of mobility. Definitely would like to see a bit more intellect, but obviously the roll is not bad and can be used to a decent amount. As far as the roll goes, generally I like to see a lot of recovery and mobility, so you do have that recovery, and the rest of them are pretty decent. I wouldn't say you need any particular stat with this exotic, and the total stats is maybe slightly below average. I don't know what's happening at the cape down there. Stop, hey, Hey, stop that. So overall, not a great roll, not really a great exotic. Outside of that, make sure you're picking up your exotic cipher quests. You can do strikes and crucible and gambit, and you get an exotic cipher that you can either spend on the exotic archive or this exotic engram. Of course, again, keep in mind this exotic engram is guaranteed you give an exotic that you've never received before, and it's a high stat roll. So if you're looking for a Shards of Galanor, you'll never get it, but you'll end up getting a lot of these other ones as well. 66, look at that. Oh yeah, no, I have a 67. Never mind. This random exotics that I have really high stats on is kind of infuriating. And of course, make sure you come check out my live streams at twitch.tv/Dychronic, link in the description down below, for some open lobbies in Vault of Glass, in Grandmaster Nightfalls, and random seasonal stuff. We oftentimes have open lobbies and have a lot of fun. And of course, a big thank you to my patrons on Patreon. Specifically, big thank you to Medibudu, Mom Dad, Dr. Strange, Joe Smith, Monday, Steve Bachnerwitz, Raymond Choney, Unipanther, Cole Sherman, Casey Reagan for their support on Patreon. And that's it. Hope you guys did enjoy. My name is Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.